I don't want to work in a sweatshop. I doubt you want to work in a sweatshop. 70 plus hours a week, warm temperatures inside, actually hot temperatures inside, and not that safe. But that's because we have better alternatives, better options out there for us. But that's not the case in developing countries. According to Ben Powell, in countries like Nicaragua, Haiti, Cambodia, Guatemala, working in a sweatshop is actually the best option. You're making twice the national average in take-home pay. So what would be the next best option? That would be sustenance farming in the developing countries. And sustenance farming is essentially growing just enough food to sustain yourself and your family. And when we think of sweatshops, we're like thinking probably not that safe, collapsing buildings, perhaps fires. Actually, working in agriculture is the most dangerous work. Globally, worldwide, half of the deaths related to workplace is in agriculture. So there is an inherent risk in sweatshops. We think the Shirtwaist Triangle factory fire at the turn of the 20th century, and most recently about 3,500 people were killed or injured in Bangladesh in 2013. However, when global advocates start asking for increase in safety, forcing regulation onto multinational corporations, the cost and safety increase is passed down to the workers. And low-income workers prefer their pay in cash, not in benefits. In fact, 95% of low-income workers surveyed in these factories preferred to keep things the way they are, not add any added safety benefits if it meant that it would take away from their take-home pay. Over time, an increasing and developing economy leads to increased social capital for these workers in factories, which means that they eventually have a greater say, can ask for better working conditions, and when it comes organically like this, it's longer term and more effective. A lot of times when you force safety regulations on a country or a multinational corporation, it's really empty promises. Either nothing gets done, or as I mentioned before, the cost gets passed down to the workers. Over time, also factories improve the lives of the villages and the countries where they are. The Millennium Goals were developed in 2000. It's about 8 points of noticing if we're increasing the lives globally of those who are impoverished. And the number one goal was to half the number of people living on less than $1, now $1.25 a day. And an increase in factories and sweatshops is directly related to that being the first goal passed and one of the only reached at all. According to Forbes, in Bangladesh, 77% of workers are making less than $2 a day. 43% are making less than the global poverty line, which is $1.25. But in sweatshops, they're making more than $2 a day. So they're making more than any other occupation. The population most positively affected by these factories are actually women and girls. According to the Adam Smith Institute, in villages that have sweatshops and factories, girls are 1/3 less likely to get married or have a kid under the age of 18. And that's because in families with a little bit more wealth, they're less willing to marry off their daughters right away. They start to see the value that they can provide by possibly going to work in the future. And also, with the idea that these girls and women are eventually going to work, school employment is 43% higher in villages with factories because education and skill are actually valued. Multinational corporations improve the infrastructure of villages where they build factories by having roads built to transport in and out, which positively affects everyone living there. Water treatment facilities, they construct the schools to educate the population, and also increase residential. The overall focus needs to be on the bigger picture. We can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. The factories are the best option of employment for people living in the developing world. So we need to focus on long-term overall safety, but also, as I mentioned, not decreasing the wages and the income or the lifestyle of the people who are working in these factories. So we need to focus on long-term increased safety by allowing them to grow their own wealth and have a say in where they work.